Now, before we get into this, though, can I take a point of personal privilege? I did this yesterday. I promise we're going to be productive, but this is only 36 minutes long, so we have some extra time. Can I take a point of personal privilege? Can I get people to give a thumbs up in the chat if I can take a point of personal privilege? We're gonna do the zine thing, and I want people to be excited about this. I just have something I want to talk about and look at. Can we talk about Konstantin Kisin? Can I complain about Konstantin Kisin? Konstantin Kisin is one of the biggest fucking disappointments I have ever come across in my life. This guy is such a fucking shill. This guy is so fake, is so inauthentic. He is such a goddamn grifter. I gotta tell you guys, I was on Triggernometry back in the day. Back in the day when the conservatives were using me as a pawn to prop me up as the Democrat who went to the Trump rally. I was on Triggernometry back in the day. And it was funny because my community kept saying, like when I started getting to the far left stuff, my community kept saying to me, they were like, Carlin, why don't you go back on Triggernometry? 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 And I, in my head, knew, I was like, in my head, I'm going, I'm pretty sure I'm blacklisted from that show because I stopped using conservative talking points. And so I never wanted to say that, right? Because I was still in the phase, and this was a couple years ago, I was still in the phase where I was like, I don't want to burst the bubble of my community just yet. There used to actually be a time where I did hold this stuff back, believe it or not. There used to, and I was like, I just don't, so I would brush it off every single time someone said something to me about trigonometry or Konstantin. I would basically brush it off, be like, I just don't think that's going to work out, and I'm really sorry about that, and I know you want to see me on this show and all that stuff, but I just don't think that's going to work out, and I just left it alone, and I didn't make a big stink out of it. Well, one of my community members one day was on a live stream, and I don't blame my community member for this, by the way. This is not their fault. One of my community members was on a live stream with Konstantin Kisin one day, and I don't even remember when this was. Actually, I can look and see. This was in December. So it was back in December, last December. And my community member, and this is one of the people who really wanted me to go on Triggernometry. And my community member was on this live stream with Konstantin and Francis Foster, and she sent in like a super chat or something, and she was like, why don't you talk to Carlin about what she's been doing? And it was a completely innocent thing, right? She was trying to do the right thing because she really wanted to see me go on the show. And Konstantin Kisin responded, well, all Carlin does is infight. That's all Carlin does. All Carlin does is infight. Now, this was in December of last year. So that means this was a couple months after I had gone undercover at the Socialism Conference. This was after I had gone undercover at the Socialist Reproductive Justice Conference back in April. This had been after I had done multiple online infiltrations into far-left events. This was literally just weeks after. Literally just weeks after I had infiltrated the National Sex Ed Conference, and we got all their sessions on tape, and we got them talking about how they're using Packers in school to teach girls how to have dicks, and we got a whole thing where they were talking about how parents don't have parental rights when it comes to sex ed. We got all this on video. We put it all out there. There were so many news stories that I broke in 2023. It was so fucking ridiculous. And for my community member to go into Konstantin's chat and send the chat saying, why don't you have Carlin on? And for the response to seriously be, all Carlin does is infight. That really pissed a lot of people in my community off. And so, but I was still handling it appropriately, and I want you guys to see this. This is the last DM conversation I had with Konstantin Kisin, because after he said that publicly, I was like, why don't I just send him a direct message? I literally hadn't contacted him since, you can see up here, I hadn't contacted him since September of 2021. So it was a long ass time. And so on December 4th, 2023, I wrote, hi, Konstantin, my community member told me they spoke to you and you said I had conflict on Twitter. I didn't know they were going to do that. For reference, the conflict on Twitter is a group of people gang stalking me, smearing me, and harassing me throughout every part of my life for the last 3 years because they were pissed that my platform grew when theirs didn't. I documented all of it if that's something you actually want to know. But the important part is that they were trying to do this while I've been trying to reverse engineer what's been going on the left and how they did what they did. I've spent 3 years going into far left socialist spaces, including going undercover at their events and developing ways to easily explain what's going on and where it's coming from. Here's a summary of my best work from this past year. I've done more undercover and independent journalism than anyone in the space in the last year, and I sent him an article that I put on my Substack that basically had my greatest hits from 2023. I always find it bizarre when people let Twitter nonsense overshadow real work, but here we are. Anyway, hope you're well and congrats on all your success. That was all that I said. I was not inappropriate. I was not mean. I didn't have a tone. I was literally just saying, hey, I heard you said this thing and, I guess I understand it, but have you seen all this stuff I have? Because maybe as someone who claims to want to defeat the left, maybe you would be interested in this, Konstantin. And Konstantin responded and he said, hey, Carlin, from memory. And it was on a live stream where we were usually okay. Hang on, let me say this again. Hey, Carlin, from memory. And it was on a live stream where we were off our faces usually. Winky. Someone asked us about having you on the show, and we said, yes, we've already had you on. They had me on in 2020 before I started doing any of this. And it was a great conversation, and then I mentioned that I see you regularly because you're often feuding with other people on Twitter. I didn't mean it in any sort of critical way. People could and do say the same about me, too. And then I responded, I said, well, I guess I'm saying that I suppose it's kind of shocking to me that that's the thing that stands out most, since I do significantly more than defend myself from the nonsense others choose to sling at me. So I thought I might pass along the substance of what I've been doing for clarification, which comes across loud and clear in my feed as well. No one on the internet is doing what I'm doing, and I'm years ahead of anyone in the anti-woke space, which is true, in terms of what they're doing and what comes next. If you're not interested, my mistake, all the best. And you can see, put a little heart on it. The next day, Konstantin Kisin unfollowed me on Twitter. A couple days after that, Konstantin Kisin blocked me on Twitter. I had no public interactions with Konstantin Kisin. Other than, I had no public interactions with him. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. All I did was say, here's what I've been working on. Maybe you'll be interested. And then he pretended to play nice. And then he unfollowed me, and then he blocked me for no reason. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. I know exactly what's going on. I got you, Konstantin. I got you, you fucking inauthentic grifter shill. Well, fast forward after October 7th. Actually, this was already after October 7th, wasn't it? It seemed like, pardon me, I'm getting my dates mixed up. Fast forward, and Konstantin Kisin is acting like an insane person. And he's struggle sessioning anyone who disagrees with him. He has to, it's just really insane. Naruto, thank you for the super chat. I posted a video of the AI song in the Discord music section for people to check out after the stream. Thank you, Naruto, for that. We do appreciate it. Rationalist says, isn't this guy the free speech warrior? Yes! Hasn't he made a career of being anti-cancel culture? Yes, he has! And yet he was so quick to cancel you and block you. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Because for the last year, Konstantin Kisin has been publicly struggle sessioning and going after anyone who does not support Israel. And he just did it again today. And I saw this post from Triggernometry earlier. And I commented on this post on Triggernometry. This post says, who are the woke right and why aren't you allowed to criticize them? I responded to this post from Triggernometry earlier today, and I said, I'm going to make this easy for you. Konstantin Kisin is the woke right. I was blocked within seconds. Literally within seconds. It was like, and they got dogpiled on for this post because Konstantin's been acting like an asshole. Anyway, I would like to watch this video about who Konstantin thinks the woke right is. And it's not that long. It's only 10 minutes. And then we're going to do the zine stuff after that. But I just want people to see. Because the reality is this. There is a woke right. I started writing about the woke right years ago. I think I was one of the first people to start talking about woke on the right, like back in 2021. There is a woke right. But Konstantin Kisin is fucking on it. There are a whole bunch of influencers on the right, from Dave Rubin to Douglas Murray to Gad Sad to Konstantin Kisin. Gee, what do all of those people have in common? They're all Jewish. I'm not saying that all Jewish people are like this. I don't think all Jewish people are like this. I am saying the people who are on the woke right universally are either Jewish or they support Israel. They might be Christian and support Israel, but like that is the common denominator right now. These are the people that are trying to get people canceled for speech they disagree with. That is like one of the foundational aspects of woke. I don't know how people are confused about this. The reason I left the left in 2020 is that I was involved in a knitting community where everyone was trying to get everyone else canceled for speech they disagree with. It is no different when you are trying to get people canceled for speech you disagree with when it comes from the right than it is from the left. That is what woke is. Woke is an authoritarian that wants to control what you can say and what you can do and what ideas you can consider and what jokes you can make and what speech comes out of your mouth. And when you don't do what they want you to do, they struggle session you, they shame you, they peer pressure you, they organize fucking cancel mobs against you. That's what woke is, and that is exactly what Konstantin Kisin is doing right here. And he's trying to project his bullshit onto everyone else. This is the ironclad law of woke projection in action. Konstantin Kisin is like, anyone that doesn't have the narrative about World War II that I want them to have, they're the woke ones. Seriously, they're the woke ones. They have opinions I disagree with, guys. And listen, by the way, I don't actually care what your opinion on World War II is. I don't actually care what your opinion on Israel is. I am friends with Zionists. There are people that are Zionists that I support the work of. Stu Studios is a Zionist. We love Stu Studio. You want to know why? Because even though I am opposed to what Israel is doing, and even though Stu Studio is absolutely on Israel's side, Stu Studio does awesome fucking work. And we have a mutual respect because we both do a similar type of thing. And so I respect him and he respects me. And you know what happened? We don't bicker about the things that we disagree with. I will unequivocally always support Stu Studio's work. And he has always been just the nicest person in the world for me to interact with. He's come into our chat. There has literally never been a problem. So this is not about, I hate everyone I disagree with, because that's just not true. This is not about, like, you can have a different opinion than me. But if you are going to try to struggle session me or people I care about, if you are going to try to form cancel mobs against me or people I care about, all over a difference of opinion, it is not the fact that you support Israel that's the problem, Konstantin. It's the fact that you're struggle sessioning and forming an online cancel mob that is the problem. It's not the fact that you're Jewish, Konstantin. No one actually gives a fuck. The left doesn't give a fuck either, by the way, which you would know had you actually paid attention to the left. You know, Dan and I, we disagree. Dan and I disagree. Guess what? We don't even fight about it because I'm allowed to have my opinion. Dan is allowed to have his. I don't hate Dan. I don't feel any sort of way. I love Dan. I think Dan is fucking awesome. This is not about being Jewish. This is not about supporting Israel. This is about being a woke authoritarian that wants to censor the speech of people that they disagree with. That's it. Oh yeah, he's Jewish. Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Anyway, I want to play this clip and I want to watch. I actually haven't watched it yet. And then we're going to do the zine thing and then we're going to have a productive rest of our day. All right? That's my point of personal privilege. Let's get this party started.
Right.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Few people now remember what the word woke.
Hang on.
Thou shalt not criticize the woke right.
Look at who Konstantin Kisin is saying is on the woke right. Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, because Candace Owens has questions about the chosen people, and Tucker Carlson interviewed a historian that was critical of Winston Churchill. That's the crime that Tucker Carlson committed for Konstantin Kisin. He interviewed a historian that was rather critical of Winston Churchill's behavior during World War II. Candace Owens, we hate Candace Owens. We hate that bitch. But we don't hate Candace Owens for the same reason that Konstantin Kisin hates Candace Owens. We can identify that.
Few people now remember what the word woke meant before it became an insult. These days it is used by those of us who believe in reality to mock the lunatic fringe of the left. But it was
the word woke is used towards those of us that are used by those of us who believe in reality. Konstantin Kisin believes that he believes in reality, and he is hinged into reality.
It was not always thus. While the word has come to mean an ideology obsessed with victimhood, identity, and the falsification of history to suit today's political agenda,
that's not what it means.
Those who once proudly called themselves woke intended something else. It was, at that time, a self-congratulatory label, which meant, first and foremost, being aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially in relation to racial and social justice. As has been discussed ad nauseum, in practice, what this awareness of facts pertaining to various forms of justice meant was a framework in which certain groups were victims and other groups were victimizers. Some groups were suffering, and their suffering was...
Now, he's describing Marxists here. That's what he's describing, which is, of course, true, although Konstantin Kisin doesn't care about real socialists in the United States. I think we can all understand that. First of all, Konstantin Kisin doesn't even live in the United States, so I don't even know why Konstantin Kisin is in charge of doing commentary on the United States at all. Konstantin Kisin lives in the United Kingdom. I am so fucking sick of people coming from other countries to talk about the United States. No offense, people from other countries. I love you guys. I really do. I have no hate towards people from other countries, but I'm married to a fucking immigrant. However, I am so sick of these influencers that don't live here, that don't have any skin in the game, doing commentary on what is going on in the United States. Like Ian Miles Chung. Ian Miles Chung lives in Malaysia. Ian Miles Chung has never been to the United States. Konstantin Kisin and Francis Foster live in the United Kingdom. Billboard Chris is from fucking Canada. Why are all these people doing commentary on what is going on in the United States? They don't even live here. That's an aside.
Responsibility of other groups which had conspired to mistreat and take advantage of them. But a conspiratorial worldview of this nature cannot be maintained on faith alone. Explanations had to be given for why this false narrative was in fact not false at all. First, and highly relevant to our imminent discussion of the woke right, the woke left never claimed that the arguments they were making were true. Instead, rather than attempting to prove the impossible, they wisely made an entirely different claim.
Konstantin Kisin believes the woke left has never claimed that their arguments were true? Do me a favor, guys. One in my chat if you believe that the woke left have never claimed that their arguments are true. Two in the chat if the woke left absolutely believes that their arguments are true. One in the chat if the woke left have never said that their arguments were true. Two in the chat if the woke left absolutely believes their arguments are true, based on what you guys have seen. Two. It's not a single one. It's not a single one in the chat. So no, Konstantin, wrong.
Argued, is merely a linguistic projection of power. The powerful brainwash the rest of us into seeing the things they want us to believe as the truth. To claim that something is true is to abuse the power you have over others. It is an act of linguistic violence. This is why if you were to assert that you know how many genders there are, or quote facts about contentious social issues, such as police violence against minorities, that would be used as evidence of your poor character and nefarious intent. All it showed was your bias, fragility, and so on. If this sounds a little abstract, a more concrete and even more relevant example is what the wokesters did to history.
The wokesters.
They attempted to destroy, both physically and reputationally, anything about the past that served as a reminder of the achievements of our society. Statues were torn.
You don't say, Konstantin. You don't say. They tried to destroy any history that was not convenient for their narrative. You don't say, Konstantin. Let's just remember that Konstantin Kisin says an attribute of woke is trying to destroy any aspects of history that you personally find inconvenient for the political narrative that you're selling.
Down and defaced. Historical figures on whom we'd looked with pride or to whom we looked for inspiration were attacked. Why? Because history, and the truth more broadly, is to humans what roots are to trees. It is a way of knowing which way is up and which way is down. Strip a people of the history, destroy the concept of truth itself, and they're left unmoored, floating in limbo, pushed and pulled in random directions by every new seductive force that comes along. As Hannah Arendt powerfully explained, the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie.
She's Jewish, right? She's Jewish. Hannah Arendt, Jewish. Let me see. I'm just confirming. Yup, Jewish. Yup. Okay. Okay. So the Jewish quote is, the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. A people who can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. Yeah, if you look her up, she's Jewish. Just look it up. I'm not making this up. It's on her Wikipedia. Janice Zeal says, hey, Carlin, I've got a new laptop, so it'll be more frequent. Keep my wrench. Hugs. Carlin gets hugs and soon drawings. Thank you, Janice. I appreciate you. Funnily enough, the name of the AI song I created is called Woke Right. Hey, that's great, Naruto. Appreciate it.
A lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. The people who can no longer distinguish between the truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that an interesting quote? Hang on, I feel like with such a people, when people are not aware of history, you can do whatever you want with those people. You know, this quote can be read in a number of different ways. This quote can be read in from several different perspectives. Some might read this quote as, if you are part of a group, let's call them the Christians. Just for argument's sake, I'm not saying this is real. Actually, no, let's not even call them the Christians. Let's call them, what is a fake name for a fake group? Let's call them the Overlords. This is a fake group. It's a made-up group. This group is not real. I'm making an analogy. I'm making an example. If you are part of a group that we're going to call the Overlords, the Jim Jones group would have been good. We're going to go with the Overlords because it sounds cool. Like if I gone with the Christians, that would have been confusing to people, because I'm not trying to insult Christians. I was trying to we're going with the Overlords, okay? The Overlords. Yeah, maybe we could even say the People's Temple. No, we're going with the Overlords, okay. Say you're part of a group called the Overlords that is a fake fictional group that I've just made up. And that fake fictional group manages to co-opt history. That fake fictional group manages to mythologize certain events so that a large portion of the world believes things are true about those events that are not grounded into reality. Again, I'm making up a fictional group. This is not real. I'm just giving you a certain perspective on this quote. So you've got a group of overlords that mythologize major world events. And they use the mythologization of those major world events to convince people, starting when they're in school. They're so effective that they get into every school, and the teaching of their myth is mandated, and there are books written about their myth, and there are Hollywood movies made about their myth, and it just becomes so prevalent in culture that a significant part of the population believes in a literal myth that wasn't real, but they did such a good job at doing all of this stuff, all of this propaganda, let's say, to make people think it's real. We're basically talking about the allegory of the cave. Exactly. Like, there's a big percentage of the population that are in the cave that are controlled by the overlords, which is a fictional group. And the people in that cave are looking at the shadows on the wall, and that's all they understand. Right? So if you so going based on this quote, with such a people you can do whatever you want. Well, yes. If you are part of the fictional group that absolutely does not exist, that is responsible for delivering the message to humanity and putting all the shadows on the wall in the cave, you can control the group of people in that cave. That's exactly right. This is a fantastic fucking quote. Exactly. No, absolute no. It is a fictional group.
Completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want. The woke logic operates like this. There are good and bad identity groups. You can't trust anything you've been taught about history or anything you're being told today, because your beliefs are based on lies spread by people who are in control of society. There is another select group of people, us, who understand what's really going on, and we're bravely raising awareness of the issue. Anyone who disagrees with us or criticizes us is doing so because they're a bad person, and the criticism and disagreement just proves that we are right and they're bad. The woke revolution which occurred over the last 10 years was bad enough. But the iron law of reality is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Having lived through a decade of this race Marxism which spread through our elite institutions like an aggressive cancer, I believe we're now witnessing the emergence of an equivalent phenomenon on the fringes of the right. Tucker Carlson has just hosted a man called Daryl Cooper on his show, describing him as maybe the best and most honest popular historian in the United States. Cooper, who goes by the online moniker Martyr Maid, is indeed incredibly honest. In addition to thinking that Adolf Hitler, a genocidal mass murderer, strolling through the Paris he had just conquered is highly preferable to drag queens, Cooper also explained that Churchill was the chief villain of World War II. The thread he posted on X following his interview with Carlson is so historically illiterate that every major claim he made...
Did you see? They have someone in the community notes system. Look at this.
...with Carlson is so historically illiterate.
There. You guys know the community notes system on Twitter is weaponized, right? Everyone knows this, right? You guys know there are a significant number of people who are in the community notes system purely to weaponize it against other people. And it looks to me as though whoever made this video is in the community notes system and can rate and submit proposed community notes. But I find it funny. Konstantin Kisin is supposed to be like the guy that's going to push all the liberal... Konstantin Kisin is the king of liberal values. Konstantin Kisin is the savior of liberalism. And it doesn't seem to me as though Konstantin Kisin is actually making an intellectual argument against any of the things that have been made. He's just saying, look, guys, look, Twitter says that he's wrong. There are some tweets in this thread that have community notes, guys, because Twitter says they're wrong. Why can't Konstantin Kisin argue? Why isn't Konstantin Kisin showing even what the argument is? If the argument is so obviously false, and I haven't even read this thread, so I'm actually not commenting on the veracity of this thread. I have no fucking idea. I don't even like this guy. I don't like this particular historian, so I'm not on this guy's particular team. I don't actually like him. I've never read this thread. I'm just saying that it seems a little intellectually fucking dishonest to me that Konstantin Kisin is just scrolling through the thread and saying, look, guys, it has community notes. Don't actually read it. Don't read it, because if you read this thread, I might have to make an intellectual argument against it. And I know I can't make an intellectual argument against it. I just have to call this guy a Nazi because you know why? Tucker Carlson dared to interview someone I disagree with, guys. How dare Tucker Carlson not get approval from me for every single person that he interviewed? And now I'm struggle sessioning him on the internet and calling him the woke right, even though I'm the one doing the struggle session, and I'm, in this case, Konstantin Kisin. Konstantin Kisin is doing a struggle session. Tucker Carlson doesn't give two fucks about Konstantin Kisin. I hope everyone knows that. Tucker Carlson doesn't give two fucks what Konstantin Kisin thinks. It's Konstantin Kisin who is trying to struggle session Tucker Carlson rather than making an intellectual argument, which is what he damn well should be doing if he actually believes in the liberal values that he claims to be the only person upholding.
That every major claim he made was debunked on X itself within hours with community notes and in articles published by prominent historians such as Victor Davis Hansel, Neil Ferguson and others. But this video is not about Cooper. I do not find him remotely interesting. There are and have always been lying charlatans and overconfident fools. What is interesting is the warm
Konstantin, yes. There have always been lying charlatans and overconfident fools, Konstantin. Very, 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 very true. There have always been lying charlatans, grifters we might call them, and overconfident fools. You're correct.
Welcome he received on Tucker Carlson's show and what that represents. The woke right, for which Carlson is the undisputed spiritual leader, is feeling its way to a logic of its own. It is far from being fully formed.
The woke right, of which Tucker Carlson is the undisputed spiritual leader. Are we about to call Tucker Carlson a Gnosticist? Is that where we're going? Is that fuck all these people.
But it goes something like this. You can't believe anything you're being told. Look how they lied to you about Trump. True. COVID. True. And Biden winning the 2020 election. False. What if they also lied to you about everything else? We don't claim to know the truth. We're just asking questions. But we know what the truth is not, whatever the elites are telling you. Look how triggered they are by us just asking questions. That's evidence of their bias and fragility. It proves we are right. This is where historical revision...
No, Konstantin. That's not what proves they're right. That's not what proves they're right. And I'm not saying they are right about everything, because again, I haven't even read that thread. But I'm saying that what proves they're right is historical reality and fact. That's what proves they're right. You aren't even attempting... This guy's got some fucking balls. You are not even attempting to deal with their actual arguments, Konstantin. You aren't attempting to lay out their evidence and then debunk it. You're just saying, pinky swear, trust me, bro, guys. They're just like the woke left guys. Pinky swear, trust me, bro. I'm sorry, but you would have to be an absolute moron to believe that we have been told the truth about every event in history. Given what, I don't know how you exist in the world in the last 4 to 5 years. With the amount of just absolute lies that have been told by the government, absolute lies that have been told by the media, absolute lies that are told in books that are published every goddamn day, do you really think that people just started lying? Do you really think the lying just started a couple of years ago? Because I don't think the lying started a couple of years ago. I don't think we've been told the truth about any historical event ever. And I don't think I don't think that's a crazy idea. Given the utter amount of propaganda that has just been on Earth in the last couple of years, and the only reason we see this now is because we have more access to information than we've ever had in human history before. And we have more abilities to communicate with other people and sort through that information. We can use AI to parse that information. We have a monumental, like, we have it all right in front of us right now. We didn't have that 50 years ago. So it would have been much easier to lie about something 50 years ago than it is now. So, and you're telling me they just would never have thought to do that? Bullshit. Yeah, Konstantin Kisin. This all started when Elon Musk bought Twitter. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. We all know the line, history is written by the victors, but do you think that just started in the past couple years? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of World War I? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of World War II? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of the Civil War? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of the Revolution? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of Vietnam? Like, I just don't even know what to tell you. Like, we all know this line. But this line means that we have been lied to about every event in history. In human history. Not just in the United States, everywhere. Because we are always shown the victor's version of the truth. Every single time. The victor's version of the truth may or may not be grounded into reality. And there is nothing wrong with questioning everything, and there's nothing wrong with asking questions. Konstantin Kisin wants to be in charge of what questions you are allowed to ask. I hope everyone understands this. Konstantin Kisin wants to tell you what ideas you can think about, what ideas you can consider, what books you can read, what people you can listen to, what videos you can watch. And he pretends to be the guy that's going to uphold liberal values. He can't even make an intellectual argument. Everything this guy does on the internet is scripted by someone else who is trying to sell you a narrative. You are paying him to lie to you when you give him money or you watch his content or you elevate what he says. He wants to be able to censor you. Why are you giving him power over you? You give him the middle finger and you tell him to fuck off back to the United Kingdom or back to Russia or back to wherever the fuck he wants to go because what ideas you consider are not his responsibility. He does not own you. He wants to rule you. Woke means authoritarian, Konstantin. Woke has never been about the left. You just painted it that way because it was politically convenient for you to do so. Woke means authoritarian.
Comes in. Just like the woke left, the woke right has come to hate the West for the reasons I detailed in my previous video. But what is more, what else are they like?
We hate the West. Whatever, bro.
Lying about question is a slippery slope down which you inexorably slide if it becomes the lens through which you see the world. Just as a woke leftist sees a conspiracy against him that he calls systemic racism in every workplace, classroom, and interaction, so a woke rightist sees a conspiracy against him in every institution, media publication, and historical consensus. Importantly, disagreement and...
Did he just say that all MAGA people were on the woke right? Is that real? Hang on. Why is Konstantin Kisin comparing BLM with MAGA? Listen, MAGA people annoy me for the most part. I think they're obsessed with Trump. I think it's a cult of personality around Trump. But MAGA people are not the same as BLM. That guy, he has got some balls, man. Konstantin Kisin has got some balls. I wonder how many Trump supporters does Konstantin Kisin have in his audience? Konstantin Kisin is literally spitting in their face right now. I hope people know this. Yes, this is your based conservative influencer, sir. MAGA is just like BLM. They are all the woke right. Because they didn't vote for Ron DeSantis. I wonder how many MAGA people fund Konstantin Kisin. I wonder how many MAGA people send Konstantin Kisin super chats. I wonder how many MAGA people subscribe to Konstantin Kisin's channel. I wonder how many MAGA people fund anything this guy is involved in. And he just spits in their face like this?
institution, media publication, and historical consensus. Importantly, disagreement and criticism only reinforces his belief in the conspiracy. Note how this is an exact mirror image of the woke left's approach to debate. Put forward false assertions, make no attempt to back them up when challenged, and use the criticism you receive as evidence of both your rightness and your righteousness.
Okay, so Konstantin, let's talk about what you're doing. You're making a list of false assertions. You're not making any attempt to back them up with evidence. And when people criticize you for making those false assertions, you call them the woke right, which you also don't back up with evidence. It kind of sounds like the ironclad law of woke projection there, bro.
The one element that is still missing, which is why the ideology has yet to properly take shape, is that the scapegoat group behind the conspiracy is still unclear. To the woke left, straight white men are the obvious source of the world's evils, but the woke right has struggled to find an equally plausible culprit. They've experimented with globalists, Marxists, and elites, but none of them fit the bill because they do not readily conjure an image of the suspect group in the mind of the average viewer. If you ask 10 woke writers to draw a picture of a globalist, a Marxist, or a member of the conspiratorial elite, they'd likely struggle. And because elites is what they've gone with for the moment, the logic doesn't really work. When most people on the woke right think of the elites, they imagine a cabal of senior Democrats, billionaire funders,
It's
and the
amazing.
leaders of other major
There's a word that Konstantin Kisin is not saying that I just find conspicuous based on its absence. Isn't it? There's something that's just being overlooked in his analysis here. I can't quite put my finger on the word that's missing. Let's see if he says that word for the rest of this video. It's got 3.5 minutes left. Let's see if he can get to that word.
institutions. And the problem with that is that it's extremely difficult to believe that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are orchestrating a conspiracy, given that they appear unable to get through a press conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm going to come to the overflow room.
This is where the war in Israel has come in handy. For people like Candace Owens, another darling of the woke right, whose ignorance and conspiratorial delusions are matched only by her charisma and bombastic arrogance, it has provided the opportunity to hone in on something a little more tangible. She currently spends most of her time debating weird rabbis and ranting online about...
Yeah, I remember this too. If people haven't watched this, when Just Pearly Things went on their show, Konstantin Kisin grilled her on how dare you interview Nick Fuentes, and why didn't you ask Nick Fuentes these questions when you interviewed him, and how dare you do this, and aren't you a bad person for interviewing Nick Fuentes? I really recommend people go back and watch that, because it was absurd. You would have thought that Konstantin Kisin thought that he was Just Pearly Things' boss and had any authority to tell her what to do at all. It's like, who wants to watch an entire episode of his show where the person being interviewed is being grilled about how dare you interview this person, and why didn't you ask the questions we wanted you to ask, and why didn't you push back on him hard enough, and why weren't you meaner to him, and why didn't you denounce everything that he said? And then I would actually encourage people to go watch the interview that Nick Fuentes did with Just Pearly Things, because I watched the whole thing, and it was fucking great. It was great. You actually got to see Nick as more of like a human being. You got to see his personality come through. He was like really smart. He talked through a bunch of things. He wasn't hateful to anyone. He didn't call for the genocide of anyone. It was a solid interview. But no, we're not. And that of course was the problem, is that Nick Fuentes came across as very human and likable in that interview with Just Pearly Things. And Konstantin Kisin can't have that, because remember, guys, Konstantin Kisin is in charge of what everyone else can say and do on the internet, and he really thinks he's not woke.
Frankists. I don't claim to know what she means exactly, but for some reason her audience pepper her tweets with replies encouraging her to just say Jews. Whether the rest of the woke right moves in this direction remains to be seen. For now, on the mainstream right, the taboo against associating with illiterate Nazi apologists of the type that Carlson's just hosted has held up remarkably well. We'll see if that remains the case over the months to come.
The argument that he's making is that they're illiterate. Konstantin, you literally attacked the guy for writing a whole Twitter thread. The guy has written books. I really don't think the guy is illiterate. He's not illiterate. I mean, this is Konstantin. This is just basic facts here. If you can write whole books and you can write whole Twitter threads, you are not illiterate. I know I'm trying to educate the savior of liberal values here, and I know that facts just don't mean anything to him, but illiteracy actually has a very specific definition. It means you can't fucking read. Duh. I was right when I told you guys what he was a while back. No one listened to me. They were all like, no, Carlin, Konstantin is good. And I was like, oh, I'm going to burst that fucking bubble.
Come. For an actual history of Churchill, by the way, I recommend our discussion with historian Andrew Roberts or the conversation he had with Douglas Murray here on YouTube.
He was involved in 3 car crashes, 2 plane crashes. He
Konstantin
went into
recommends
no
that
man's
you
land in the
watch
First
his
World War some 30 times.
watch his
he got
version
so
of
close
Winston
to the
Churchill
German
because,
trenches,
you know,
you could actually
Konstantin
hear them
knows
speaking
everything.
in their trenches. He once said that there's nothing so exhilarating in life as to be shot at without result. The Conservatives tried to deselect him, and every single thing that he said turned out to be right, and everything that they said turned out to be wrong.
Does anyone find that a little unbelievable? That historian literally just said that everything that Winston Churchill said was right and everything that everyone against Winston Churchill said was wrong. Now listen, man, there are people that are very smart. There are people that can have very high accuracy rates in terms of what they get right. But Winston Churchill was around for a long ass time. And I think we can all agree that World War II was probably a pretty complicated affair. And I just find it hard to believe that literally every single thing Winston Churchill ever said and did was right. And every single thing that someone who opposed Winston Churchill ever said or did was wrong. Because common sense will tell us that no one is always right and wrong. Yeah, the truth about Winston Churchill is regurgitating every mainstream talking point about Winston Churchill. It's almost like Winston Churchill has been mythologized. It's almost like that fictional group of overlords, again, completely fictional group that we just made up like half an hour ago. They're projecting certain images about Winston Churchill onto the walls of the cave. And the masses are watching those really massaged narratives about Winston Churchill, and they're believing them because they don't have any other information. It's just that's the only information they have. So why would they question it? That's all they know. The cave is their world. The overlords are telling them what the correct story is, and there is nothing disputing it. He's illiterate in that he is not literate in the oppression narrative of a certain group. It's like critical pedagogy. Exactly. Thank you, Mizakan.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember that they're available in my Substack days, weeks, and sometimes even months ahead of time. Make sure you head on over there now by clicking the link in the description and subscribe. As you know, I've been concerned about both the economic and political direction of travel of Western countries in recent years.
Oh my God!
That being the case,
is this just a gold commercial for the rest of this? This is literally just a gold commercial for the rest of this. That's it. Oh my God. Oy vey. Oy vey. Oy vey indeed. Yeah, I have no words. Yeah. Well, hey guys, listen, there is a commitment that I can make to all of you right now as we wrap up this segment on Konstantin Kisin. I will never try to sell you gold. I promise, I pinky swear, trust me, bro, I will never, ever, 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 ever try to sell you gold. But do you know what I will sell you? If you feel so inclined to support me with money in some way, do you know what I will sell you? I will sell you designs that I make in my merch store, including this new limited edition Trump Quiet Please Here t-shirt. Quiet Please t-shirt, not here. Quiet Please t-shirt that I just made last night in honor of the what I thought was the most iconic moment of the debate, where Trump said to Kamala, he was like, quiet please. And I was like, I was dying. I thought it was so great. And I thought it was so great, I made a limited edition t-shirt of that iconic moment that is available in the Unwoke art store right now. It is available for 25% off until Sunday evening. The discount is automatically taken at checkout. You just need to go and put it in your checkout and you'll have the discount. And look, guys, you just go to unwokeart.com and you can get that there shirt. I put the link in the chat. I've got the link in the chat over on Rumble as well. And it's literally right at the top of the homepage. I made it right before I got started. So it's only in a t-shirt right now. I might make some other merch later tonight, but I only had time to make it in a t-shirt today. We've got it in black. We've got it in red. We've got it in gold. We've got it in navy. We've got it in purple. We've got it in black heather. We've got it in oxblood black. And just for the lovely knitting queen Judy, we have got it in heather dust, a lighter color as well. And that is going to be available for a limited time only in the Unwoke art store. So it's not going to be available long because it's a special debate edition. So if you like the shirt, pick it up. And I think it turned out pretty good myself. I'm pretty proud of this shirt.